Hey everyone. Now I've got here a receiver, an Icom PCR-1000, and it's a good receiver. It goes from 10 kilohertz to 1.3 gigahertz. But I've had it sitting in the cupboard for years, many years, and now it doesn't work. Like it turns on, but it doesn't quite work. So I'm going to try and fix this. But just so you know, it's a computer-controlled receiver, which is why I got it over 20 years ago, way before the era of software-defined radio. So you can see on the back here, it's got an RS-232 serial connector to control it, and audio out, antenna in. It's got a little speaker on the front, but really, that's its whole purpose. So it doesn't have all the knobs and stuff, and it was handy to just have a computer-controlled receiver. But I'll show you what's going on with it now, and then I'll see if I can get it going again. Now, the transformer it came with is an actual transformer. Like that weighs a bit, because that's got less RF noise when it's a nice transformer compared to something like a switch mode power supply over here. But anyway, get the old power in. And the serial port here, this is just a USB to serial adapter. And that's kind of it. Now, the software it came with was Windows only, and it was pretty horrible to use. You can see it here. There was some other software called, I think it was called Talk PCR, I think. But either way, it was only Windows-based, which isn't what I'll be using, obviously. Now, the Linux software is called PCR-1000, and it's just a CLI-based bit of software that lets you set the frequency, squelch and that, and volume, and that's what I'll be using. Now, it's not perfect, but I'll get to this software later on in the video and show you what's going on with that. But this is what I'll be using. Now, I'll turn this on, and I'll run PCR-1000, and just initialize it with a radio station. Now, there's no antenna, but you should hear some hiss, but here's what happens. Nothing. Did you hear that? Now, one of the quirks of this program is you have to put the -I to initialize it, and I'll get to why that's a quirk later, but listen closely to the speaker. Probably didn't hear anything. Don't know if you heard that. There was a little click through the speaker, basically turning the amp on, the audio amp, but there's no actual signal. There's no hissing or white noise or anything like that. That's the problem. Now, that's what it did today, but sometimes you turn it on and there will be sound for like a few seconds, maybe a minute, and then it goes to that. But what that tells me is that the computer part of that's fine. It's responding to, serial commands. It's just not working on the demod side, the audio side. So I'm going to pull that apart and see what I can see. But before I pull that apart, there's a benefit to having old equipment, and that's that you can get schematic diagrams for them. Now here I've got the service manual. This is how things used to be. You used to be able to get all the information. So if I go through that, you'll see it's got everything. The 2 Windows discs it came with. You can see the components, tells you everything about what's in there, the layout, the circuit, blah, 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 how it works. The whole bloody, component list there. Every damn component's on there of what it exactly is. And look at that. The whole thing, how to pull it apart, how to put it together. So I'm going to pull the lid off this and see if I can figure out what's going on. There's a schematic. See if I can figure out what's going on. But first, what I'm going to do is pull the lid off, see what it looks like. There's a switch at the front there. Oh, it's wired in like that. Should be able to come across like this. There we go. Let's have a look. There's a dodgy little speaker up the top there. You can see it. Blah, blah, blah. Speaker, power switch, antenna in. No doubt remove them. The RF stuff will be under this tin can here. But this is the controller part. Obviously that works, like I said. Well, wherever it is. Serial goes in there and works. Now something somewhere is preventing that from working. Let me pull this thing off. There we are. Now the only grotty thing I can see is this over here, but I don't think that's going to be an issue. And the reason I say that is because this is the RF section, and I think that's what I'm having problems with. But don't want to speculate too soon. But anyway, that's how it looks. Now on the diagram, you've got this J2 connector, which has the voltages here, -5, +5, +5, +8, and 33. So I'm going to check them on here, which is this connector right here. Now, when you're hunting down electronic faults, one of the first things you do is check your power supply, always. So I'll just stick the negative in the chassis there. And have a look. So the first one, RS 33. So this should be 33 volts around here. That's 33. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 8 volts for the fifth one along. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That should be 8 volts. 8 volts. Next one is 5 volts. Alright, now the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One along is -5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. -5, and the next one is 5. Okay, so all the voltages are there. So the power here is feeding the RF board fine from what I just measured. Now this block diagram is split up over a bunch of pages, so it's a bit shit to follow. But this AFO, which I'm tipping is the audio frequency output, should have audio on it feeding the amp. So on this connector here, from here, once it's demodded everything, the audio comes back up here and goes to the audio amplifier. Now I'm kind of assuming that's fine, but I'm just going to check on here to see if there's a signal there anyway, just to see if the audio amp's dead, which I don't think it is because it did make that noise when I turned it on. I'm just going to check anyway. I don't know if you're going to see much of this. I'm going to block it, but put that on ground and this on the AFO line right there. It's showing up. There's no audio going to the audio amp, which is what I kind of expected, but just want to check anyway. While I'm here, since I've got one, I'm going to have a look at it with a thermal image camera just to see what's happening. Why not? Okay, I can see on the power supply board, it's a bit hot over here. I say a bit hot. It's talking 94 degrees, which does seem high. Even though I measured all the voltages going to the RF board, that just does look high. Now here's the photo of it, and you can see that component that looks a bit sort of burnt is running at 100 degrees. Doesn't mean it's dead, but it's interesting. Now those two resistors that were getting hot are these two, R64 and R12, and they're 15 and 27 ohm resistors in parallel, so resistance will be about, I think it was 9 or something. But they feed the input to the 5 volt power supply, and I measured fine on the 5 volt rail. So what I can do is see how it's got these voltages here, 13.2 and 10.4 on that side of what to expect. I might measure that, and, turn this back on and measure that and see what they actually show. What I'm going to do is just turn this on. I've had this off for hours, so I'll just turn the 12 volt on, and I'll turn this switch on now. So it's not hot yet, just by being turned on. Let's turn it off for a second. Alright, so what I'll do this time is I'll turn the switch on, it's on, and now I'll initialize it on the computer. That set it off. Alright, so that's some more bit of info, and I'll decide what to make of that. Okay, now I've had another thought, and you can see it's night time. I've been away for a few hours helping a neighbour run Cat5 through his roof, but he was doing the running, I was just directing. But if those resistors only get hot when I send the command from the computer, what I might do is measure that 5 volts before I initialize it and after, because I can't remember when I did it before. So that's kind of what I'm going to do next. I'm going to set up to measure that 5 volt rail again, but without it initialized, and then initialize it and see what happens. Right, I must have tested this while it was initialized before, because I'm not getting any voltage of these on these pins that had something on them before. So what I'll do is I'll initialize that after 5 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There it is. Now it comes on. Okay, so that's when I was measuring the voltages. That one there. Yeah, it's the 8 volt. That's the 5 volt. Here they are there. Alright, now what I'm going to do is divide and conquer. I'm going to pull these ribbon cables out here to separate the logic board, which has the power supply on it, and the RF board. And if it gets hot immediately without that, then it must be on here. And if it doesn't, then it must be on here. So I'll do that now. Hopefully I can get these out without breaking it. Take both of them out, just in case there's something there. Alright, it's pretty isolated. Now I can't measure these pins on that side easily, but I might be able to get them down there. Anyway, I just want to see if this heats up first. Alright, now I'll turn the main power on, and I'll do the initialization. And what happened? Should have probably been looking. They're still getting hot, aren't they? Still getting hot. All this shit around here. Actually, that's not where I was looking. The hell? They're the resistors. This thing down here. Wait a minute. These capacitors are getting warm. I say warm, but it's still only max 30 degrees, so the scaling's different. That's not the thing that reached 100 degrees before, it's just the hottest thing in this particular shot. Right, I'm going to do that again with it plugged in, because it was these capacitors that were getting warm just then, but not 100 degrees. So I'll just initialize it now. And yeah, it's the thing up there that really gets hot. So yeah, 42, 43, 44, 45, that thing's smoking up there. Now that it's plugged back in. Right, since I know these only heat up when the RF board's connected, it kind of implies that there's a problem down here sucking heaps of current down. So what I'm going to do is point the thermal image camera at this, even though it won't light up quite like that 100 degree thing up here, but I want to see what happens down here. Alright, so here goes again. I'll press enter. Okay, something heated up. Let's turn it off. I'll try and find it with a screwdriver. Oh, I've lost it already. Let me do that again. I can turn it on, press the button. There, so something there. Right in there. Okay, now I think that was pointing somewhere in this tightly packed bunch of surface mount stuff here, which I'll have to check in the schematic what these are. Could be little diodes. But that's what got warm there. Alright, these resistors up here, although they got hot, it did manage to supply the right voltages on the rails here to the RF circuit. So they could just be knackered because they're old and they're dissipating more heat than they were supposed to, but they're still actually working because, well, like I said, the right voltages were coming through over to here. I don't know what's going on here. That is too small to fix anyway, even if it was a fault. So for now, I'm just going to pull this apart and have a look underneath just to see what's there. Right, there's the other side of it. What I could probably do is connect it back up and see if anything gets hot over here, but I don't really want to just rely on thermal image. I'm getting pretty much sick of this. But I might hook it up one more time and see what happens on this side. Alright, here we go on the underside. Shit lighting up everywhere. Interesting. What is that? It's that thing I see there. What was that one? Let me do that again. I see there. That one there. There's something fucking hot down here. Those things. Alright, I've made the executive decision to end this here. And the reason is this. I spent a lot of time on it and I got some ideas, but if I do actually find out what's wrong with it, I won't actually have the tools to fix this because it's microscopic, surface mount devices. I don't have tools to fix that. It's not something easy, so it's really hit the end of the road there. Now, what I wanted to do with this was use SDR to do like a waterfall display and use this as a handoff receiver because this would be better quality than an SDR receiver, the ones I've got anyway. So that's what I wanted to do, but I won't be able to do that. Now, as for the software that I mentioned, I got in touch with the guy who did the software, the Linux version, that CLI one, and it's ancient, and he's just recently put it on GitHub because I was talking to him and we thought, why don't we run that through like Claude and find errors in that because they had some errors, and we were going to get that, just up to date, just cleaned up a bit, but not much point now, so it's a pity. But I did want to point out, as you saw, you can get schematics for this old stuff. That's how things used to be. And you saw it has the whole block diagram, the functions, test points, what to expect on them, the whole thing. So I do like that. And Icom's a good brand, but I'm just not prepared to spend any more time on it. It's not something vital. It was just, would have been nice to see it work again, that's all. But it has failed. But anyway, not every success makes it to YouTube. Sometimes failures do too. So I'll just post this anyway. That was my weekend. Anyway, that'll live now. Till next time, take it easy. Well, that almost makes you want to say shit.